Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wendy Morgan, and I am your host today in the personal development and training. Today, we are going to cover personal development, and we have a special guest today. She is a wonderful leader within our Lifewave team, and her name is Annie D. Coker. Annie, you want to say hi?
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Annie, tell us a little bit, and I know you're from Indiana, and most everybody knows Annie because she is the daredevil in the way that she skydives. And oh my Lord, some of the things she accomplishes, guys, is amazing. And in fact, maybe sometime in the future, I can have Annie back and she can share some pictures of the things that she does in the skies because it's absolutely amazing, more than I think what I would ever do in my lifetime. But Annie, tell us a little bit about you because I'm sure there's much more than just the skydiver.
Okay, well, I grew up in the Midwest, um, and I've moved a lot in my life. I have brothers and sisters, and I got to experience growing up on a farm. I've been a single mom for a long time. I have one son, he's 24 years old already. And I did get involved in skydiving about 25 years ago. And it's how I keep my sanity, jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. So I've gotten to a level where I can help teach other people, and I've set some world records, and I have some medals and some cool accomplishments in my sport. But I've gotten to be just recently, not even a month, as now a senior presidential director in Lifewave.
Yay! That is awesome. And you also have children, yes?
One son,
And how old is he?
he's 24 and he's awesome. He actually lives with me now. He and my ex-husband are divorced, so we have been, you know, doing that custody battle thing for a long time, but now he's older, so he's working, and he is starting to get interested in these patches, and he's done 3 tandem skydives.
Oh, that is awesome. So that's how I would do it. Just give me a tandem. I think it'd be exciting, honestly. And I wouldn't mind doing it, but I'm going to wait till my youngest is really on her own, just in case. So everybody, just to let you know a little bit about what personal development is to learn more about our leaders' lives and how they have transitioned through adversity, how they've progressed in their personal development and learned what they must do in order to assure a continuous forward momentum in their life. For you to realize that they are just normal people, just like you and me. And by sharing their story, perhaps it can inspire you to help you traverse through your life and create your own story. So with that going, or with that, let's move on. So, tell us a little about you. Where did you grow up, Annie? And what kind of style, what was your childhood like? And, what was going on in your youth?
I really loved my childhood because I was blessed to have an awesome big brother about 11 months older than me that could be my protector and my leader. And I had the honor to get to know 4 amazing grandparents, which came in really handy because my parents got divorced when I was very small, and they were confused and moved a lot. And I had step parents and step siblings, and so I ended up growing up moving a lot, Minnesota, Indiana, Ohio, in the Midwest. I got to grow up on a farm a lot of the time, and I got to meet a lot of people, and I just don't remember names because I moved so much. I didn't spend a full school year in any school until high school.
Wow. I mean, not even a full year ever?
I had 8th grade, and then um 8th grade was a full year in that school, and then high school, all 4 years in the same high school.
Wow. And I thought I moved a lot because yeah, my family moved around, I think like 5 different states when I was a kid. And you outdid me there, Annie. So so what did you do after you exited high school? Did you go to college? What did you do with your life?
I loved all sports. loved all animals, loved people. I wanted to get involved in maybe veterinarian stuff or nursing. And my primary growing up with my mom and my stepdad, I also lived a lot with my dad and my stepmom, but it was my primary home life was really controlling stepdad and alcoholic mom, and kind of got good at that negotiating the emotional climate of a room and making sure I could try to help keep the peace, and I was kind of a mediator, and so that was kind of my natural inclination. I didn't feel like I could afford to go to college, and I didn't even really understand when I took the SAT. I was already living on my own when before I was even a junior in high school, because my parents had moved away and I had to rent a place. And if I didn't want to move again, which I didn't want to move again, I worked at McDonald's and Kmart and another place, and I got a car and I stayed at the high school where I was at, and I paid rent. Um, so college seemed too much for me. I didn't understand how to fill out forms for financial aid. I knew it was expensive, so I decided to drive to Scottsdale, Arizona, and join my grandparents. And I got involved in just working and paying bills and took classes on the side for nursing. And I got interested in nutrition mildly, but then being social and having a life and going out and partying, and I didn't really finish college, so I just ended up working and paying bills, and I moved to San Diego right after that, and I moved to New York right after that. I became a flight attendant for Pan Am, and I flew all over the world, and I got to see all these other countries, and that was awesome. And they went bankrupt, and I just kind of ended up trying to be looking for love in all the wrong places and getting involved in dysfunctional relationships, and ended up getting married eventually later when I was about 30 and having my son and getting divorced and working different jobs, whatever. I can work. I've worked a lot of, I've had my CDL. I've driven a school bus. I can parallel park a 40-foot thing. I can drive a forklift. I've worked at metal recycling places. I've done secretarial jobs and all different kind of things. And
Yeah. Well, God bless you. I am really glad you're here with us today because I mean, we talked a little bit earlier. We have a lot of common as we found out, and the more you talk, the more it's like, oh my gosh, we have a lot in common. But you were thrown in survival mode at such an early age. And I'm sure that all of that subconscious PTSD, like, I mean, you definitely had PTSD. I mean, to be thrown in survival mode is such an early note. Has that, the PTSD, has that literally prevented you from doing things in life that you like looking back, oh man, that would have been a good opportunity. Why didn't I do that? I mean, thank goodness you got the opportunity of Lifewave, which we'll jump into a little bit later. But did you have an opportunity to actually look at that and realize, yeah, I do have PTSD and I've been in survival mode for a very long time. And were you able to see that and acknowledge that?
to see
Oh,
that for a while. And even as I got married and I had red flags about my marriage and sort of the control, and I didn't even fully acknowledge abuse, emotional abuse. I didn't even, when people would say they're depressed or they're emotionally abused or financially abused or mentally abused, I was like, get happy. What's your problem? I didn't get it. And I look back and I see opportunities where my confidence, I didn't have a lot of confidence because I was on my own for so long and just avoiding a war zone, whatever it took to sort of find peace. And I actually got accepted to the Annapolis Naval Academy for officer training right out of high school. And I wish I would have realized what that was. I could be an Air Force pilot or something, but I didn't realize. All I knew was 4 more years of a commitment at some school, and all I needed was a car and a job. Why did I need to commit for 4 more years of school when I didn't see the value in the school that I went to, and I didn't see the opportunity? So I passed because of commitment. I was commitment shy. I was always ready to move, and I was afraid to commit because I would be trapped in a bad situation. I needed an exit plan all the time. And so that was part of my dysfunction for sure. And then when I got married and we talked about, having kids, I thought it would be great to have like 6 kids. And we when I we didn't have kids right away. I mean, I got pregnant 2 years later, but at that point, when I was pregnant, I realized this this relationship is not healthy, and it was kind of like, oh, bummer. So
Yeah, I
that's
can
when I
imagine,
started.
because generally with a tumultuous childhood, psychologically will attract, we'll continue attracting that until we clear it up and actually, make it neutral for ourselves. So I completely understand that. Now, was there a time? I mean, obviously there was a time when you went ahead and started doing some work on yourself because you found Lifewave and you're doing really pretty good with Lifewave. What was
It's
going on in that time that you finally came to those ahas, and what did you do to move through it and help heal yourself?
it's funny because I didn't really look at health or wellness for myself because I was so blessed with such a strong immune system and being so healthy. I didn't know better that than accepting what I was programmed to see. Milk, it does the body good, choosy mothers choose Jif, you know, pork is the better white meat or whatever. I didn't know anything except what I was running through life eating Burger King and drinking Mountain Dew every day, thinking this is healthy. I'm healthy. What's wrong with this? And then when I got pregnant, I really started to research more like health related things and what would this mean? What would it be like going through labor and delivery and options and alternatives? And that's when I really started to see there's a difference between kind of a mainstream programming and then maybe more of an alternative. And that's when I started really, and then also at the same time, my marriage was falling apart. So I was getting involved in church and I was becoming a really stronger Christian and more spiritually connected, you know. Um, and so that helped me going through that divorce and trying to keep my baby healthy secondarily led to me being more conscious, self-conscious of my own health. And even still, I wasn't aware of a real wellness until 2011. My son was already 11, and I got Steven Johnson syndrome. It's this
Now, what is that
random,
exactly?
it's this crazy autoimmune issue where your body does a low grade fever that never stops, and then your whole body burns up and you die. And I got 108 degrees. My whole brain shows scarring and brain damage. Every square inch of my skin was burned with blisters. My lips were black. I lost my eyelashes, my hair, all my fingernails, my toenails. All my skin was bubbled and burned and blistered. My tongue was black. In my mouth, I'll bless my mouth. Uh, no, like all my toes were black, no ankles, everything was just burned. I was in Tampa General Hospital burn unit for a month and I clinically died. There were 7 of us in there when I was in there of other people who had Steven Johnson syndrome because it's actually somewhat it's not that uncommon, even though the numbers say 1 in a million. I had 100% burns and blisters, and I clinically died on August 3rd. They had to sign me off with a physician's signature, line up organ recipients, and then obviously I didn't stay dead. I survived because of a miracle, and God decided it wasn't my time. And the scarring and the loss of everything was supposed to be permanent, permanent brain damage, permanent baldness, permanent fingernail loss, permanent blindness. And I got my vision back, a bunch of my eyelashes, a lot of my skin. You can still see scars if you look really closely, but because of the patches, even though it was later, they've really rejuvenated my scarring and my healing, my brain, my vision, my macular health, my eyelashes, my mucus around my eyeball, all these things that the doctors said, there's nothing we can do for you. You're just going to have to feel. And I felt lucky and I felt blessed that I was alive, that I could breathe in and out all by myself. After spending a month in the hospital, I didn't feel like I needed a wellness, but I definitely was diving into wellness because Steven Johnson syndrome is caused by a synthetic drug of any kind.
Okay, so the body responds to a synthetic drug, and then the adverse effect is the Steven Johnson. And I'm just kind of making sure I'm getting this right. And basically, it killed you, but then you came back to life on your own, I presume. And from that point forward, you didn't have Steven Johnson syndrome. Is that correct?
Right. So the syndrome gets you, you burn and you blister, second and third degree burns, however much it does for you. For me, it was 100%. And the recovery was miraculous. The fact that I came back from being dead and then I regained my vision, I didn't stay brain damaged. That's a joke between some of my friends, as far as I can tell. And the scarring going away and regaining my, ability to function and have lips again and taste buds again. So that I came out of the hospital, I continued to heal to a certain point, 18 nails back. That was miraculous. So the event was devastating, but the recovery was miraculous. I got off of the breathing machine, I felt good about being alive, but I knew I didn't ever want to take a synthetic anything ever again, not Advil, Motrin, Benadryl, nothing synthetic for me. So then I found out there's an alternative wellness like industry out there, and that's when I started like finding out there's other ways you can live and be even more healthy.
Wow, just what a story. And I didn't even know that your story, Annie. And wow, my heart goes out to you. Have been through your share. You've been through a couple lifetimes in this lifetime. Wow. And I'm really glad that you're still here with us today. So in 2011 is when you came down with this, and I presume that's also when you died, September 2011. And then you started to go through the recovery, 2012, 13, and the same time sinking yourself into, I know there's a new word for it, but the alternative healing field, natural ways of healing your body. And so where did you go from there? So you just started stepping into reading books. How did that look for you?
I was primarily concerned with raising my son in a healthy environment and enjoying my sport and just living life. So I was skydiving. I was back to skydiving like crazy after that.
So when you say living your score, what do you mean?
So living my life, doing my sport, skydiving. I got involved in
Oh,
skydiving.
sports. I thought you were saying score. Sorry. And I'm like, is that something in skydiving? Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
I had just gotten involved in skydiving before my son was born, and while I was well, he was, yeah, so I was married, and then my husband at the time, um, wanted me to quit, so I quit, because he worried so much. And this passion of mine, it never went away. So when I got divorced, I went back into skydiving, and that's when I got involved in this type of skydiving that's different, where we take our parachutes and we open our parachutes right away, and we fly our parachutes into each other, and we make formations where we're connected in the sky. And it's kind of a very rare form of skydiving that not very many people do. It takes a bit of upper body strength and a little bit of gumption to be able to fly your life-saving device into your friends. And I just love it. It's hard and it's
So
challenging.
if I would, everybody go take a look. So this is a picture off of Annie's Facebook page. So this is kind of like one of those formations that you're talking about. That,
Yeah,
I mean, guys, look at it really close. You can see a person at the bottom, and basically every apex there's a person.
I'm the
That,
blue one on the corner.
wow, that is wow.
We just did that a couple days ago. I'm actually driving. That was in Florida a couple days ago. We had a big gathering on the east coast of Florida, and we had a new Florida state record in that formation. It's all females, females only. So that's a new Florida state record. We were able to put up a jump, and now I'm a veteran. I've been doing this for 20 years. And I told these girls, it's really weird being the same age as old people. Because they're like, you're so experienced. Can you show me how? And I speak girl, so I can translate. The majority of this particular discipline in the sport is male, because it does take a bit of upper body strength, and it is kind of a weird form of skydiving. Nobody does this, especially not females. So it's really fun to try to bring new girls into the sport and teach them they don't have to be afraid. I'll be really gentle with them and help them go at their own pace. And so, yeah, it's fun.
It looks amazing. So you got involved in skydiving, and you're still healing your body, because I'm presuming something this intense had to have taken years to heal, with the different applications that you did, correct?
My my taste buds took about 4 or 5 months to come back. My fingernails took the longest. I still have one nail that isn't fully come back, but um having energy, I felt like I was back. I could see again. I had to wear really dark glasses because of the bright of the light and the irritation, and I had to wear long sleeves and long pants in Florida. And I was living my life like that, having a daily headache and having indigestion problem, like digestive problems, and having exhaustion problems. But I didn't realize they were problems because I felt like alive
You're alive.
until, yeah. So I didn't realize that you could feel so good in, I mean, I'm older than like a lot of the girls that I jump with, and guys. There's a lot of younger people, and they get tired. And I'm on the patches, and I'm like, come on, let's
Get,
go.
get on the couches, man. So
Yeah.
you obviously you started using herbs and all natural products to again continue your path along your healing your body and whatnot. What now did you realize I also need to address, I mean, to be that, and okay, so I don't, so forgive me, I'm not trying to offend you anyway, but to be in that survival mode throughout your whole life, and then to literally be in a survival mode because you were dying and you died. I mean, I presume you kind of got a fresh look at life and did a 180. And then, okay, now I've got to work on my mind, because the mind, has synapses, right? That's used to specific way of firing due to what your experiences in life. And did you start addressing how you thought and how you feel? And if so, how'd you do that?
Coming out of that, I was aware of, so relationships to me are the most important thing. period. And I wanted to make sure that I could show my son the kind of love and support and relationship example of like nurturing my relationship with him and providing a healthy environment for him. And so I was very hyper aware of my relationship with another guy. I had this boyfriend or that boyfriend over there, and I didn't want to bring anything unhealthy into his life. So I kind of kept my relationships at a secondary priority. At the same time, I'm aware that I would like to have a, a together, supportive, you know, significant other. And coming into Lifewave in the last 9 years, I've been with Lifewave 3 years. In a couple days, it'll be my 3-year anniversary. And so it's been a neat realization that I have been able to kind of develop and build my personal relationship with my boyfriend and choose how to communicate more clearly in a less dysfunctional way and not be so commitment shy, be more honest and open and upfront with life is short. Let's cut to the chase and just be honest. And I've had a really cool, supportive development in my my relationship to support me in Lifewave and support me with my son and show him, with together, what does it look like to have affection and love and support and help. And at the same time, spiritually, let's develop. I want to improve my relationship this way spiritually and this way with my son and help him see there's your physical side and having a sport maybe or whatever help, and then your emotional side, relationships, my father with my significant other, really able to kind of be more aware. My relationship with my dad has improved because of, my boyfriend, and my relationship in not creating a mama's boy from my son because of my boyfriend and trying to keep it healthy, right, and balanced. And that's been part of my, top priority since getting all burned up.
Yeah, I can totally understand. I mean, that would make sense, right? To go and take it slow on one hand, like keep things at bay, want to keep things safe. But at the same note, it sounds like to me you have a lot more boundaries, a lot more
Yeah.
healthy boundaries. Now, is there something that you felt in your progression in life, certain things that helped out, like certain authors or maybe a movie? I mean, I know movies, I'm a junkie when it comes to movies, and I get really influenced by songs. And I could be sitting there going, I'm feeling this way, all of a sudden I hear a song and that's, oh, I feel this heavy energy. Like, no, you're just influenced by the song. Shush. So I got to really pay attention to what I'm listening to these days. But is there anything that stands out for you that you're like, this really helped me find my path or find my truth or anything on that order?
I felt like at the couple of low points, I've had some crazy things happen. One first point was realizing I was pregnant in a marriage that wasn't healthy. I was like, oh no. And that was probably the beginning of me really kind of plugging into some spiritual encouragement and uplifting, developing and improving my relationship that way, because I can't really count on people in my vertical relationships as much as I can count on my Heavenly Father to be there for me all the time. And I listen to my favorite, couple of my top favorite like podcasts and teaching. Mark Driscoll has a website called realfaith.com, real FAITH, real faith. And I love his teaching. And the other one that I like is the, okay, The other one is, oh, in music. So there's a radio station down here called the Joy FM, and I just let the um, lyrics kind of minister to me when you really think about it. The Joy FM is also connected with, um, what's the other one in Indiana that's called, oh man, I can't think of it. I gotta move over here, but um, and also Joyce um asking me to move. Um, what's the other one? Anyway,
I
music.
think I know, yeah, because I think there's a syndicate of, I presume you're talking about Christian radio stations. And then
Yes,
they're kind of like throughout the country. And I know what you're talking about. A lot of times I turn that on, just like, I just want to hear some good music that doesn't have anything else in it. So I totally
yes.
hear that. So, but prior hand, you said Mark Driscoll. Is that Driskle?
Driscoll.
Oh, wow. Drisdoll. Oh, Driscoll. And he has a podcast, you said?
Yes, he has a website. It's realfaith.com.
Real Made?
Uh, Faith, Faith, Faith,
Made?
Dr. His last name is Drs, like Stephanie, Coll, Driscoll.
Okay.
And,
I'll get that from you when we get off so I can share that with anybody. Oh, and thank you, Vincent. He put down realfaith.com. That is excellent. Thank you so much. So I want to kind of move forward a little bit because I think it's Vincent's been asking questions on a consistent basis. So yes, it has, Vince. So once you came across the patch, and I'm presuming since it was 3 years ago, you probably started with the X39 because that was about the same time that I came on too. Now, did you still have some residual from your incident in 2011, physically, mentally, emotionally? And what was going on before you started the patch then?
so before I started the patch, I was working at Granger Industrial Supply, doing my job and feeling pretty good with only a mild headache every afternoon, like tension, and mild digestive problems that weren't anything that I would notice, and energy that was pretty well zapped every day at 4 o'clock, but whatever. And being able to still run and do my thing, I wanted to get involved with the patches because I could see what it was doing for people who had real problems. People who had serious health problems, and I wanted to help those people. So I wanted to get involved with the patches for them. And after about 4 months, I I think I let my auto ship fade away or something happened and I was off the patches for about 7 to 10 days. And that's when I realized, like, wow, these are making big difference. I mean, subtle things, small things, like I never had a problem sleeping at night. So when people would say this helped them sleep, I was like, well, I've never had a problem sleeping. But I realized how much deeper my quality of sleep was with when I was patching. And my eyes, I didn't realize how irritated my eyes were when I was not patching. It was so um it so before the patches, the process of me actually opening my eyes and functioning took hours every morning with the light and the opening and the closing and the no mucus, and um I didn't even fully realize, like an early morning networking meeting, I'd be like, it's too early, I couldn't get going. But when I'm patching, I just wake up and open my eyes and run around, and I didn't fully appreciate that. And going to the bathroom every day, that was a thing I just didn't really fully appreciate. And then there was this mood elevation that I'm a positive person anyway. I have always felt like optimistic view compared to everyone else. But when I was not patching, go back into kind of being more annoyed with traffic or whatever. But when I'm patching, I like rise above it and I don't get so caught up in the fear of the day. It's just like so nice, but it's subtle, but it's I don't know how to describe it. It's like having a good day.
Yeah, you're more in a neutral space where you're not getting triggered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Well, that's
Love that.
amazing. And you brought up such a valid point because there's so many things that we've carried on through childhood and they slowly, layered on and layered on, layered on that we just accept as this is who we are. And it's just life and we just move on and we don't really look at it because we just think it's part of ourself. And, as the old saying goes, you don't know what you lost until you get it back. And here you got your eyes back and you got your sleep back and you got your quality of mood back basically to who you truly are versus who you were formed to be in an essence. That is awesome, Annie. I'm so happy for you. So if anyone who's listening to this podcast um that is going through adversity, is going through physical, mentally, emotional anguish, even come to something that's threatening their life, such as you did, and or had the traversity of life experiences that you've had that have been so traumatic. What would you say to them to help them know that? Because everybody, guys, if Annie can do it, you can do it. So, Annie, what would you say to those people of how to fortify themselves, how to support themselves, what to look for? What would you want to say to them to give them knowingness that they can too, thrive like you are?
I would say if you can realize that there's always some little thing that you could search to improve. And maybe it's part of your physical life, maybe it's part of your spiritual life, maybe it's in a relationship with a family member, maybe it's part of your recreational life. You could strive to look, where's a little place where I could make an improvement and become healthier in that arena, in that area? Where could I make better choices? Just little things to keep trying to improve. And for me, once I got all burned up and I got out of the hospital and I went back to work at Granger, and then I had my first skydiving issue when our team had crazy winds on landing, and all four of my teammates got hurt just like a few feet off the ground, and I got all broken. Tailbone, both of my pelvises broke in half, and it snapped my femur in half, and I was out. And I recovered fast, but my job ditched me. My career, which I thought was my place that I wanted to continue forever and retire with this beautiful big giant company with these great perks and a company vehicle, and they ditched me. I had no job. And so I was working at a health food store for $10 an hour with a lot of bills to pay and still fighting custody battles and being a single mom. And I had a very hard financial road ahead of me. And then this company came along, and the the blessing of the way that David Schmidt sets this out for people, not only with their health, but to have a financial foundation to take care of yourself, to be financially independent. I would have never imagined that me at $10 an hour with all these bills could ever dig out and be independently, not have to live with my boyfriend or not have to depend on somebody. And that's been a huge surprise and a huge blessing. So if you feel like financially you're in a place that's hard, it's hard. This company has a way, if you just listen to these leaders and Peter No, and it's so easy. You don't have to work 40 hours a week or 60 like I was. It's just it's just it's been a blessing to me financially.
Yeah. You just reach out and just plug people in, and you've been doing that really wonderfully. And what I like what you said earlier, a lot of times when we go through adversity in our life, we and then we want to get out of it, right? We look at the whole picture. Oh my gosh, I have to get rid of all of this. And it's overwhelming. And I love what you just said a while ago, which is, you just looked at one thing, and how can I help and fix or improve? I don't want to say fix, just improve this one thing. And and then after that, how can I look at this one thing and improve that one thing? You just take little tiny steps that eventually get you to where you go. I mean, obviously you're evidence of that, because look at you now, you're doing really great. So you've been with the patch. Not that this is not about the patches. This is not a testimony. This is more about Annie's life. But people are asking, what patches did you start off with?
I was only on the X39 for 2 years. I never expected these scars to go away. I didn't do Alavita. I didn't put them on my scars. I didn't care about my mild headache every day. I didn't do ice wave. All I did was X39 only for 2 years straight. Isn't that weird? I didn't even think about other patches. I don't know why. I was just being simple.
Yeah. Well, in truth, the X39 is the big umbrella. It covers and it will touch upon everything, giving it the proper amount of time. So that might be years for some people, depending upon how damaged their cells are. That's why the other patches are really great to use the X39 as a launching pad to laser focus in specific areas. So therefore, to really help bring about those healing in those parts of your body a lot faster. Are you okay there, Annie? Did you lose something?
Got to plug in.
Oh, okay. I'm sitting here talking, trying to go, let's try to give her some time. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, X39 is a Swiss Army knife of patches. Absolutely, George. We call it the holy grail of the stem cell industry. And it really is. It is the most easiest non-invasive activator on the market, period, and nothing yet. That is so simple. That is so, what do you call it? When you can take it anywhere you go, it's so very easily to bring along with you and just stick it on you. And, I know there's a lot of other things that, yes, we do through certain energy. We activate stem cells, but these are huge flipping units in your living room, and they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I would much rather, my patch is now stuck. I'd much rather stick with this little guy, right? This is really easy to use. So I'm really
very portable. I travel so much. I travel from Indiana to Florida for my sport every month because I teach. I've made a commitment to teach skydiving there. But then about a year and a half ago, my son got involved in a crazy cult, and I couldn't have contact with him, and I didn't know for sure where he was. So because of this company, I was able to drive and spend 10 days a month in Phoenix, Arizona, trying to find him, about 10 days a month in Indiana with my family, and about 5 days a month in Florida to teach my skydiving. And I was driving every month, state to state to state, like a crazy vagabond. And I am pleased to report that he got himself kicked out of that cult about after about 10 months. So now we're back together again, and he's living very close to me and my brothers, and everything's healthy again. But there's another healthy thing, and you wouldn't expect people in the United States to be anything except free, but there are controlling entities, and there are controlling people that want to isolate and control and block relationships. And I just want to be healthy on every level. Yeah.
Wow. definitely have had you definitely have quite a story. You should write a book. Well, I'm so really glad to hear that your son is better now and he's back with his family, where the love is at. That is excellent. So as we continue to talk, everyone, if you want to ask Annie a direct question, just, reach down to reactions, I think it is. Let me double check here. You can raise your hand. Is that right? No. Yeah, I guess you can raise your hand there too. Or by your name, I think you can actually raise your hand as well. And then we'll call on you and you can ask Annie a question. So, so you've been involved with the Lifewave families for about 3 years, you said. And not that I want to focus mainly on, Lifewave, yes, is your life, just like it is mine. And honestly, for me, I would have to say my most favorite part about Lifewave is, this is I said it because I'm going to do my testimony with Kathleen tonight. And I wrote it down for her because I want to kind of just quote it. I said, in warning and getting involved with the patches, i.e. Lifewave, it will lead you to health and happiness and connect you with lifelong friendships and supportive culture. And that to me makes so much more gratification, honestly, than is the connections, it's the relationships. And like when I go, like this weekend we went to Arizona, and I know you were busy in Florida, but it was so nice. It was like you're sitting down and you're just hanging out with your family. Well, now I shouldn't say family because sometimes family members are not so great, but hanging out with true love connections. And that was so much fun. But with your particular journey in these past 3 years, what would you say? I know you kind of alluded a little bit, it's really easy. You just kind of do what Peter says, invite people to the podcast and you do, but what was the one thing that you had to traverse through that was hard for you to do, that finally, like I can say, I guess your weaknesses and your strengths, right? What was your weakness that you had to traverse through? Because I know in the beginning, I was not confident in following up. I was not confident in closing. So I said, Kathleen, you got it. I'm just shutting my mouth and I'm listening, right? Because I knew I was inefficient in my head with it, right? And eventually I became good at it. So what would you say that you traversed through, and how did you go about that?
I would say, so for me, I carry a little bit of, I guess it's a form of insecurity, like I'm not being listened to because I've had a large part of my life where maybe my father figures didn't see me or I wasn't heard. So I over explain, I want to be heard, I want to be understood. So I talk too much and I explain too much. And I've been told that I'm a really good teacher, which encourages me to talk more. And so when I found the patches and I realized what they could do for people, got really excited. And instead of sticking to a very simple, like, format, I would just throw up information all over people because I could see that from the little bit that I started to say, they would get excited too. And then they would be like, tell me more. So I would. And they'd be like, teach me more. How does it work? How much does it cost? What is this? And I would talk and talk and talk and talk. And then they'd be like, that sounds cool. And I'd never see them again. So I had to really learn to kind of bite my tongue and to kind of deflect some of that initial excitement and initial questions and sort of deflect, like as soon as you look at the information, I will be happy to answer more of your questions. Or my friend Amy's been using these patches a lot longer than me, and I'm going to hook her up with you and introduce you to her. And that took a minute for me to see the difference in using. There's a very few choice words that I like the psychology of, and I didn't fully appreciate because I was teaching more like lecturing, I guess, which feels like selling if you're not careful, even if you don't mean it to be, when it's a one source, one way thing. So those few choice words, like, what's going on with you, instead of how are you, or I'm so glad I finally found something that helps me. Maybe it could help you. That's just 2 words, finally and found, together, that make a big difference. Or what have you heard? What have you heard about stem cells? I love that, because Some people have heard, or they're experts, because they've had $120,000 worth of injections. And but what have you heard? It doesn't mean that what you've heard is correct or the latest thing. Have you heard the latest thing? Have you heard about something that can naturally activate your own body without invasive injections? So those few little bitty words are so key to me in my learning. And the other thing that I'm really bad about is, because I really care, I would overextend and let my boundaries just be walked all over. And then all of a sudden I'm on the phone till midnight, and I'm just letting people encroach on my boundaries. And I had to learn some hard lessons to try to redraw. And it's so much easier in the beginning if you're firm with your boundaries, which I wasn't. I'm learning that. I'm trying to learn that. I want to help people, but and also, I am not, I'm not really good at multitasking. So I can get really focused on something like skydiving, and then I can get good at one thing. But if I'm not, following a program or a plan, I'm not really good at the organizing and the planning and keeping on a program. I need an accountability partner to keep me on track, because I'll be easily distracted. And it's when I can focus is when I can really do something that's worthwhile, like follow up or something. So I'm aware of these things that I need to work on.
That is awesome. I mean, I'm glad to hear that I was not the only one. And I too, I was just like, you're so excited about the information. And so you just want to share everything. But yeah, people can get overwhelmed just like we can. And it's better, the smallest amount of information, the better, guys. And all we're trying to do is attract to the next moment, attract to the next moment, attract to the next moment. And just like Annie said, she now just goes ahead and she says a few words and here, watch this website, and then we'll connect and I can answer some question. So she attract them with a little bit of information, attract them more with the website, attract them more with, let's get some, call going so we can talk and perhaps get a educational three-way like with Amy or somebody else, so they can further, and as I think Bob even said this weekend, he said, let me go ahead and get Amy on this phone so we can learn what this is all about, or so I can learn what this is all about. So therefore they don't feel like they're the ones who are in the spotlight of being a person of not educational aspect. So yeah, you have a wonderful leaders as it is in general. Bob and Amy, love them to bits. I mean, who doesn't love Bob? Who doesn't love Amy as far as that goes? I mean, they're just wonderful, wonderful people. So Annie, is there any closing thoughts that you have here? You're amazing. You're an amazing woman, girl. And I'm so thankful for you coming on here today. I mean, wow, you exude self-perseverance, getting into and saying, I'm realizing where you were, what I need to do to make it better, starting, engaging and learning all about health and nutrition, and I have a funny feeling homeopathy, et cetera, learning all the different options there, getting involved with a wonderful source that helps you connect with your divine. And, because that is, I think, bottom line, I think you and I both can agree with that. That is the bottom line of what we all need, right? Because we are spiritual beings in this physical body, and that definitely needs to be addressed. And with those two, it just sounded like you just kept putting one foot in front of the other and taking one little step, focusing on one issue to improve it. And I think that's
what I would say is, like, to take a quote from the movie Finding Nemo, just keep swimming.
I love it.
And to be coachable, if you could be humble enough to realize that there might be an area that you could still learn something, try to always be coachable and try to always be maybe an open-minded skeptic, and then just keep swimming.
I love that. What I noticed I'm glad you brought up the whole coachable thing, because I know in a previous company that I was with, You know, I thought, I mean, I won't say that I was cocky, but I would say that I was cocky, but I was also recovering from, you know, a big trauma, physical trauma. And, you know, I was just like, I can do this on my own. I can, because I have a degree and I have, and I have, and I have. But even though that other company was not supportive, unlike this company, thank God is, and, you know, made all those mistakes. But I will tell everybody, guys, even when I came into this company, I shut my mouth, and everything that I learned in the beginning, even with this company, I have yet learned from a different leader that is now time to throw out and it's time to bring in something new. So nothing is ever solid and concrete. It's think of it as being flexible and amenable, that you need to change, even though you might have learned something that might have been told you to be factual a month ago. That fact may be changed tomorrow, and we need to be okay to go ahead. Oh, okay, I'm just going to change my verbiage, and it's now this. Always be allowed to change and to move and to grow.
Yep.
So, wow, thank you so very, very much, Annie. It has been
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure. And all I can say is thank God you're here. And God bless you, lady. I mean, wow, you've been through a lot.
I feel blessed, and I feel lucky and blessed to have this a leader, you know, David Schmidt. Wow. And this whole company and all these people, it's a really great connection. The family, the energy, everything is just, it's like divine.
I agree. I agree. I think it's all divine connections here. Well, again, Annie, thank you so very much. Really, really appreciate you and your time. And thank you, everybody, guys. She's on her way driving, and she just stopped in a Holiday Inn to make this schedule with us to let us interview her. So we appreciate it. I know you had people going, can you please move? So thank you so much for dealing with that. Next week, everybody, we will be going over social media 101 with Facebook. We'll be covering a few topics, not all of them. This is going to be a once a month type training. So that's what's going to happen next Tuesday. So again, thank you so much, Annie. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.